goal and the reason that this thing works. So, Dave, go ahead, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. We have a really good group on the line. We have some returning riders, which is good to have you out there, and some brand new riders, which for most of us that are organizers of the event, those are we love working with you and we love sharing this experience that we've created 14 years ago. Like Tim said, we're going to be brief tonight, and really this is for you to answer questions and to learn about our ride. Basically get you prepared. We're not going to go into minutia tonight. We're just going to give you some global concepts about the ride. Start you make sure you're training okay, make sure you know what's going to be expected of you when you show up for the bus when we leave for Pittsburgh or for Cumberland. And give you those tools that you're going to need to get through the summer and get prepared so you just really, like we say, to have the ride of your life. As a member of the planning committee, our responsibility and our mission is to provide that ride for you. So please let us know how we can do that and how we can best serve you so we can have you returning for many years. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump in. I want to, Tim's going to help me here, get this established. And while we're doing that, first of all, for those of you who have been with us for many years, we started very small. So to have this kind of technology that we have tonight is pretty amazing. We're all pretty excited about it. So bear with us if we have any technical glitches, but so far so good. You'll see on the slide before you, this is basically a nutshell for those of you who are new of what we're all about. And by this point, you should realize that Ride Allegheny is a 300-plus mile ride, 4-day, fully supported bicycle ride from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Gaithersburg, Maryland. And for those of you who may have signed up for the 2-day, it's going to start for you in Cumberland, Maryland, and finish back in the same point in Gaithersburg. Brief history, we started back in 2001, shortly after the events of 9/11 started, and then we've grown since then. One of the highlights of this journey that we've been on over the last 14 years is our meeting Cindy McGrew. You'll see her picture there on the screen, the woman in the picture. We started with her about 10 years ago. Actually, this is our year that we've been raising money for Operation Second Chance. And her goal and her mission and her people, the people on her board, they strive to help those patriotic citizens who are committed to serving our wounded veterans and servicemen and women who serve the military and protect us every day to give what we do and have in this country. These are just some contact information. Our website's down at the bottom. If you need to get a hold of us, that's the easiest way. I just want to highlight that for you here. That's the contact information. You can just type that in. And I also want to give you my personal cell phone. Like I said, we are committed to providing really good service for you and answering all your questions. So please take this number down if you can. It's David Basehart. It's 301-802-6400. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns that you may have. So let's get down into the nitty-gritty now, where we're here to talk about tonight in detail. And that's really to talk about what your registration includes. All of you now have been involved or have registered for the ride. You paid a registration fee, and for those who haven't, we still have spaces left. So if you want to hurry up and register before you fill up, we'd love to have you on the 4-2 day. But you'll see on the screen here, and I'm going to tick off what this registration has included for those of you who signed up. The first and foremost, which is one of the most important things we give you, and that's your official Ride Allegheny duffel bag. And why that's so important is, one, that's the only bag that our SAG wagon is going to be able to transport for you. Unless you have some kind of medical, like a CPAP that you wear to sleep with, or some other medical device that you may use, we're only going to have enough space to transport this blue bag. You may say, wow, I'm going away for 4 days, I'm not going to be able to do that. Really, none of us have had a problem. The bag is sufficient in size. You got to remember, you're biking all day, and then at night you're just going out in those, out to restaurants and bars. So most people have not had a problem with packing that bag. And we'll talk more about the importance of that bag and what it means to have it transported through the ride here in just a little bit. What else has been included? Please note that your lodging has been provided in the 2 towns in Pennsylvania if you're a 4-day rider. That's going to be Ohiopyle or Confluence. And then also the dinners that we provide that are part of your registration are also going to be in that town, Ohiopyle or Confluence, or in Hagerstown, Maryland. The Hagerstown, Maryland event on the last night of our ride, before we close on that Sunday, the Saturday night dinner, it's a really good event. We've all pretty much jailed on the ride. We built some good memories at that point. So that's kind of a capstone for us at that dinner. Really just share each other's company, be in a hotel, get cleaned up, have a nice dinner with a cash bar. Usually there's a surprise slideshow that's put together. So that's an event we all have really grown to look forward to over the last couple of years. We also have some freebies for you. You'll see when you pick up your bag at a bag drop-off a couple of weeks before the ride. There's going to be some free items such as water bottles, snack bars, and some other special gifts that we have that some of our sponsors and donors have been able to give us just to make the ride a little more memorable for you. This is important, the next point that I want to talk about, and that's the transportation. We get a lot of questions, is how are you getting me and my bike up to Pittsburgh if you're a 4-day rider, or up to Cumberland if you're a 2-day rider? And we'll be providing you more granularity as we get later in the summer about that. But the basics on how that works is we provide the transportation for you up to both of those locations. If you're on the 4-day ride, we're going to have a charter bus, and it's a nice charter bus. It's not going to be a school bus that you may be used to when you go on rafting trips or back from your school days. This bus is going to have food and drinks, and it's comfortable seats and television screens. And we leave from Smoky Glen Farm in Gaithersburg, right outside of Gaithersburg, Maryland. We'll also load your bikes in trailers. We'll wrap them in moving blankets, so we take great care not to any of that damage. And so basically you sit back and enjoy the ride up and enjoy each other's company. Basically making new friends and meeting people that are going to be riding with you for the next 4 days. For the 2-day ride, it's very similar, except just obviously the dates change. Pushed up for a few days. And then you leave from Smoky Glen Farm, but you board the bus. It's going to be around the same time of that day on the Friday. And we'll transport you and your bike up to Cumberland, Maryland. Many of you I know, and several of you on the line, are not from this area, so we'll either work with you individually to see where you're going to meet us in Pittsburgh. But Chris Marsh, our logistics representative, is creating that list, and we'll be working with each individual so we know who to meet at the bus. This is important, so I want you guys pay attention to this point because, you know, we have a tendency to drone on at times, but this is important. Please be on time or early for that bus in Pittsburgh, or to Smoky Glen here in Gaithersburg before we leave Pittsburgh. We're on a pretty tight schedule that night because we want to get everybody up there so they get meals and get rested and get acclimated. So we can't be waiting around for folks. We're pretty diligent with keeping the list, but we just don't want to have anybody left behind. We will provide parking is provided at Smoky Glen on a limited basis. We ask that people carpool to that. And like I said, you're going to get more details about that as the summer progresses. But that's a highlight. It's a very significant portion of the pre-ride that we wanted to alert you about. Let's just finish up here with your registration. Also includes, this is a big one that we pride ourselves on, and that is our SAC support. And that SAC support is going to be there for the entire ride. And what's a big feather in the cap is what you see on the screen there. Is it also includes bike mechanic support. Many of you may know the individual Travis Evans. He's a great friend of Ride Allegheny. He owns a bike shop just riding along in Laytonsville, Maryland. He's basically he has become our go-to bike person and bike shop. But he closes that bike store down for us, and all his staff this year are going to be with us to provide that service. Get a little bit more about him and also our SAG. We really rely on volunteers to make this happen. And these SAG support that we see that you're going to be meet, and they'll become family to you because they're going to be with you side by side throughout the 4 2-day ride. We ask that you just treat them with the utmost respect. They're ultimately there for all of our safeties and make sure that we get to where we're going. They're not babysitters per se. They're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to host many people in the SAG vehicles. You know, if you have a medical or that kind of condition, that's a different story. But if you're just getting tired or you say your rear end hurts, well, we're really limited on that type of ability to be able to transport you if you really don't feel like riding. So please, we just ask you treat them with ultimate respect, which most people do, and just realize that we wouldn't be able to pull off this ride without them. They're not paid. They're all volunteers. And that goes for Travis as well. He'll stay up most of the night working on our bike. So we just ask that everyone, you know, show him the ultimate respect that all of us had signed up that ride, believe in, and want to continue that tradition. Last bullet, you'll see that the second last bullet is also during the registration. We transport not only your bike to Pittsburgh or to Cumberland, but we also transport your bag throughout the days. We're going to have pre-designated bag drops at each location from the night stay where the bags will need to be dropped off and loaded into a SAG vehicle that we'll designate, and it'll be clearly marked of where your bag will need to be. I want to highlight the importance of that too, and we'll keep stressing that. If your bags aren't there on time, when we depart in the morning, there's a good chance that they could be left behind. And with the numbers that we've grown to, we just don't have the capabilities to go back and retrieve bags. So please make a conscious effort to make that one of the first things, or one of the first few things you do, I should say, after you get up in the morning. And then at the end, what your registration finally includes is the End of the Ride picnic. This has become a big favorite of all of ours, and this is where we encourage your families to come and your friends as well, your coworkers who helped you, motivated you, and even donated to you throughout the summer and while you're on the ride. And basically how that's going to work, just because we want to limit costs and we want as much money going to Operation Second Chance and our servicemen and women as possible, we give 4 tickets per participant to go to that Smoky Glen Farm. But if you want more, you can purchase them at the door, and I believe it's going to be a nominal fee for a family member. Our budget hasn't quite finalized that yet, but we will in the coming days. But please plan on coming to that event and bring your family and friends.
One thing, if you guys are trying to take notes or you wanted to get something on the slide, we're going to make these slides available for you after the presentation. So don't worry about writing everything down. These will be made available. And if you do have a question, like I said, feel free to ask it right now or at the end. And if you want to document which slide it's on, these slide numbers are at the top right. You can just write down slide number 3. I have a question about what happens if I leave my bag behind, something like that.
We just threw a lot at you. I'd just like to pause here. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to answer or ask right now? Just give you a chance to unmute your mic, or if anybody wants to type a question in, I'll give us a few seconds here. Okay, I think we're good at this point. So what I'll like, somebody's talking. Okay, well, let me turn it over now. If you don't have any questions now, you can say when we're just give you periodic points throughout the brief tonight to answer those. I turn over now to my colleague and good friend Clark Wagner. He's going to talk to you about training. Clark is our founder of this from 14 years ago, and he's going to go over some training and calendar of events that we have.
Okay, so the one thing we'd like to advise people of as they're preparing for the ride is to try and get, you know, a 40 to 50 mile ride in once a week if possible, and try to get to a point where you can do 12 to 15 miles per hour pace. Certainly the ride can be done at a slower pace and obviously at a faster pace, but this is a good target to shoot for. The longest day of the ride is day 3. It's about 90 to 95 miles. So to cover that amount of miles, you do need to be going at a reasonable pace. Another idea that people have used in the past, my wife, for example, has done the ride for several years, and she almost does all of her training in the spin class. She goes, 2 to 3 times a week, an hour spin class, and that seems to do the trick for her. She doesn't get a lot of time to get out on the road much. So that's a good alternative for those that have trouble getting out on the weekends. Another big thing that we advise people is to get accustomed to sitting on the bike, get accustomed to sitting on your specific seat for long periods of time. Obviously, to cover 90 miles on the C&O Canal towpath, you're going to get bounced around a lot, and you need to literally get your butt used to that. And then, as I alluded to, the last point there is get accustomed to towpath conditions. And if you haven't been on the C&O Canal towpath, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's some parts of it are very smooth, and you'll find that it's almost like riding on the road, crushed stone, gravel. But other parts of it have a lot of roots and holes and mud. And certainly if we get some wet conditions, that entire scenario changes for the worse. So try to get off-road and get accustomed to riding in those conditions. In terms of calendar of events, picking it up from where we are tonight, this is our first virtual orientation. Some of the events that are local here are listed on this slide. Bike to the Beach, if you're interested in doing that, that's coming up this weekend, so it's probably too late for that one. Our next rookie ride is this Saturday. For those people that are local, that's going to be a 30 to 40 mile ride, partly on the towpath along the C&O Canal. We'll have another orientation. And then the Cumberland Valley 100 is on August 9th. That's a good ride. There's a 60-mile option on that if you're interested in it, once again, if you're local. And then we put together a couple of 95-mile rides, which there is a shorter version or a shorter route on that's in the 65-mile range, and we're going to be planning those for the 16th and 23rd of next month. And then some of us are signed up for the Civil War Century, which is a pretty advanced ride. You're going over mountain ranges in the central to western Maryland area. But there will be a bunch of us signed up for that. And then our bag pickup, this is for people that are local, is on September 28th. Obviously, if you're coming in from out of town, you're probably going to get your bag when you get to Pittsburgh or when you get to Smoky Glen Park. But for those that are local, you can pick your bag up on September 28th.
For those who don't live in the area and can't do these rides, check in your local area. There are rides all throughout the country. You can do something similar like this, sign up and do them, or you can just plan it on your own. But it's important. A lot of the people around here are going to be doing over the next 2 months some of these extended mileage rides, and it would be a good idea for you to try and do the same.
We won't ask questions at this point.
Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Anyone curious about anything yet? Does anyone know how to keep that thing from popping up on my screen?
Okay, then jumping into bike basics. As far as if you don't have a bike, which I hope you do at this point, but I can understand it if there's a few that haven't really gotten to picking up a bike yet. But a lot of people ask us what kind of bike to get, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. Your riding ability, level of fitness, your budget, how much money you want to spend, how fast you want to go. So what we like to do is recommend that people talk to Travis Evans at Just Riding Along Bike Shop in Laytonville, Maryland. And you can email him if you go to his website, or you can call him on the phone. He's been on our ride for several years. He can advise you after speaking with you on what kind of bike to get. In terms of getting your bike tuned up, looks like I see a question here from Lisa as far as what's a good saddle for women.
Experience in that, right, Claire?
Yeah, that's, boy, starting off with a tough one. You know, I don't think it's a woman or man thing. I think it's a person thing. And I ride a leather Brooks saddle. And I can tell you right now not to get that because it takes a long time to break in a hard leather saddle. What I would suggest is that you talk to Travis at JRABS and go in and look at a few seats. You could even try one out if you want to sit on one in the store, but make it a deliberate decision and one that you put a lot of thought into. And the biggest thing about picking a saddle for your bike out is don't get one right before the ride. Get one and then put a lot of miles on it, break it in, get yourself used to it. I wouldn't say that you should get one that's overly big or overly cushiony. A lot of people do the ride on saddles that don't have a lot of cushion in them, but it's almost more important that you get a good pair of shorts. They kind of go hand in hand, the seat and the shorts. Okay, how long does it take for a Brooks saddle to break in? That's the one Pierre recommended. It takes probably at least, well, Steve says 300 miles to break in. I would say it takes at least 300 miles. I would even say 1,000 miles to break in a Brooks saddle. They're very hard leather saddles. And I hate to go against my good friend Pierre, but I would not recommend getting a Brooks saddle to start off with. So then moving on to tune-up, the only thing here is don't wait till the last minute to get your bike tuned up. Sometimes Travis over at JRAD gets inundated with people dropping their bikes off at the last minute. If you're not getting it tuned up by Travis, then obviously that's not a big concern. But if you are going to take it into JRADs, take it in a month ahead of time. And then the biggest thing that we can recommend is get fitted to your bike. And bike fitting is something where you take your bike into a bike shop, you sit on it, they take measurements, they adjust your seat, they adjust your handlebars, and they basically set it up so your body is fitted to your bike. And that will make all the difference in the world in terms of bike comfort for the ride. So I can't stress strong enough that you get fitted to your bike. And I think we already covered the seats. And then the last thing, tires. Some guys will ride, a 25. That's what I ride, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would say 90% of the people will run a 28 to a 35 cc tire. And if you need more details on tires, you can, once again, see Travis at JRAS. But get a good set of tires. That will help you from getting flats along the ride.
We'll take a pause here to see if anybody have any questions that they'd like with the bike basics. Okay. All right, we'll go in now. Let's say we're right before the ride and we've all got our bags and we're ready to pack. Just a couple things we want to go over with you when it comes to packing. There's a lot of people ask questions, especially if you're new to the ride, what the heck do I take? What are the conditions going to be like? What you see on the screen are just some of the high points of that. Again, I want to stress the Ride Allegheny, official Ride Allegheny bag you're going to get is the only one that we're going to transport for you. So everything that you decide to pack and lay out has to fit in that bag on a day-to-day basis. We can't stress enough the second bullet you see there, and that is possible changing weather conditions. Especially on the first 2 days, we ride through mountainous terrain. So we could, there's no mountain, we're not climbing mountains, I should say that, but we're at a higher elevation. So the weather's traditionally a little cooler. That doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. It can get downright in the high 30s, which is chilly, it's almost cold, but it can be warm as well. So you have to be able to adjust to that. And the advice we give folks is to dress in layers, meaning mornings can be cold and afternoons warm. So you just shed those layers. You start out with full finger gloves is a good suggestion, especially on the 4-day when you're up in Ohio Pile. That's probably one of the cooler mornings, or if not, like I said, cold mornings where we start. And as the sun comes up, which hopefully it does, we're asking everybody now to start praying or doing your rain dance or whatever preference you have to keep it from raining. We ask that you start that now because we've done this ride in rain. And I'll just say it's character building and it builds memories. But preferably it's better than not to have rain, which you've been lucky for the past 4 years. Yeah. And but if it does call for rain, check the forecast a couple days before. Then you want to be prepared with some rain gear if you prefer to ride in that. Talked about full finger gloves versus no finger gloves. I'd bring both for the cool mornings or whatever your preference is there. Clark alluded to this, and we can't stress this enough. If there's one complaint or one issue that we get with our sack support, that is rear end discomfort. And that can really be alleviated by taking a couple steps. And we'll highlight those for you. One is wearing good bike shorts. You want to spend the extra money, one on your bike, your tires, but also on your bike shorts. It's really going to be worth it, and you're really going to appreciate that when you're about 60, 70 miles in on that first day. That one in red, the bullet in red, body glide, butt butter, etc., whatever you have. If you don't know what that is, learn about it and make sure you bring it on the ride.
You're in the checkout aisle of every bike shop.
Every bike shop has it. And some of you that have never been on this say, what the heck, I'm not going to use that stuff. We'll recommend it. You would pay gold for that throughout the ride if you start having issues on that end, on the back end, I should say. In terms about what to pack, also people say, do we have washer and dryers? There are washer and dryers in Ohio Pile, Cumberland, Hagerstown, but we have to stress they're very limited. With 100 plus riders that we're going to have this year, I wouldn't plan on being able to do laundry. If it's available, you may be able to team up with some folks, but just we don't want you to think you can walk into a laundromat and that your laundry is going to be able to be done. So just take that into consideration when you're packing. Some of the bike tools that we also recommend, yeah. We see a question that just came in. It says, is there a special fabric for wet weather? Does Travis sell this type of clothing? Yes.
Yeah, well, most of the biking clothes are wicking, fast wicking material that allows the wet and liquid to be wicked away from your body. But in terms of rain, if you're talking about rain gear, most of the bike shops sell rain gear that's specific for cycling. The downside of some of the rain gear is you get really hot when you wear it. So it comes down to personal preference, whether you want to stay dry and be really hot or whether you want to be cool and get wet. So it's something you have to talk through with your local bike shop person.
It's important to be aware, cognizant that the weather conditions can change, but don't feel like you need to pack for every potential element. Get some of the basics, but remember, all you have is a duffel bag, and whether you're cold or hot, wet or dry, we power through this thing because at the end of the day, we ride regardless.
Right. Tim brings up a good point. This is what I referred to earlier. If it's raining and one of the things you can get in the sag wagon just because you don't want to get wet, we're not able to accommodate that. Just because we don't have the people power to get people where they need to be. We have over 100 riders. We have another question that just came in. If you ride wet, do you get blisters easily?
Not if you have butt butter.
No, not if you have the butter. You'll be fine. If you're riding wet, that's probably going to be the last one. How big are the duffels? I'm going to show you a picture here, I think, in a minute, but I don't know. What do you think of the size?
It's a standard duffel bag. What we recommend, we'll get to it in a moment, but no, it's not military size. This thing is, I couldn't tell you the cubic feet, but it's not too many.
It's like 2 feet by 1 foot.
Yeah, you're probably going to bring, we recommend bringing, you don't need 4 pairs of shorts. You can bring 2. Most people bring 2, and if you can't hit one of the laundry, then you just throw it in the sink in your bathroom and you rinse it out and you get ready for the next day. Dry overnight. And we recommend you don't need a brand new shirt for every day either. You can recycle through those. So pack wisely and don't feel like it's a fashion show at night. You can wear the same outfit multiple times. I know that's probably against some of the fashion rules, but we all do it.
We're very inclusive.
Okay. We'll show you some of the picture of the bag, and we'll also try and figure out a way. I wrote down a note to remind myself, a lot of you are coming from out of state. You're going to be traveling with luggage that is not the duffel bag. So let's talk offline about that.
You had a question about the towels at the hotel.
Oh, sure, yeah. All the hotels, they're standard hotels. They have towels, and if you need more towels, they have it. It's not.
Towels in Ohio.
Yeah, they got towels. These are your Hampton Inns and Holiday Inns and most Marriott's, and they're nice hotels, and they've got all the accommodations you need. And all these hotels have a laundromat at the bottom of them, but it's usually 2 to 4 machines, so you're going to be in line if there's many people doing it. You'll have an opportunity. In the years I've done it, I've never not been able to wash my clothes 1 or 2 times on the ride. So it really isn't that much of an issue. Just be aware you don't need a brand new outfit for every single day.
We double up the hotel.
Yeah, we have more hotels we're using and all that.
Yeah. Just you see the last bullet, bike tools. This is what we recommend you carry on your bike. The tire levers, spare tubes, pumps, a multi-tool, front and rear facing lights. We put lights on there because we will be going through tunnels along the, especially on both, on the C&O and the Great Allegheny Passage, and then some chain lube. But again, your bike mechanic, whether it's Travis or whoever you work with, will be able to outfit you with that type of information. Any other questions about what to pack? We've had a lot of questions on this part. We want to give you a chance if anybody wants to vocalize anymore.
Also, it's important. You're going to start seeing, if you haven't already, a ton of emails coming through, but they're going to begin to become more ride specific about what to pack, little tricks of the trade. Keep an eye on those. We also have a lot of this on the website that you can cruise through. But I want to stress, don't go overboard on it because it's easy to do. You don't need to go out and buy an entire bike shop. Again, this is the guys when they started this ride. They did it on a crickety old steel bike, and they wore tennis shoes and just the outfit on their back and slept on the side of the trail. So it can be done very easily. This is a very plush ride. They're shaking their head. No, they actually.
Well, we stayed in the hotel. We didn't sleep on the side.
Come on, I was trying to think.
But the rest of that's good. We weren't like Beverly Hills. Just the next slide you'll see, it kind of goes into comfort and what to expect. You'll see the 2 trail. Clark alluded to this. You'll see the 2 trail services. Those of you on the 4-day, you'll see a picture on the left. Pea gravel, very nice crushed stone. It's a very comfortable ride for those first 2 days, especially when the sun's shining like in these pictures. And then those for you, especially out of towners, on the right, the C&O Canal, right outside of Washington here is from Cumberland to D.C. That's what it's going to look like for those 2 days. Pretty much. And that's the good part. Yeah.
It is beautiful. It's a short, look it up, but it can get a little bumpy if you've had some weather.
Right. And muddy. All right, let's go in. These are just particulars that we really need. These are, if you could, I'd like to highlight this, if you could pay close attention to this section. These are where we are asking you to engage in the starting the planning process. That's really lodging and meals. I'm going to highlight the information, the hotels where you need to make your own reservation now. You should have gotten an email today from John Gresh. He's our lodging coordinator. And basically what he's going to do, he's going to ensure you have a bed to sleep in every night. But we need your help in being able to make sure you have the reservations made. So I'm just going to run through this very briefly. We have this information on the website. And again, reach out to us if you have any concerns about this part. But we need you to make a reservation on the first night in Pittsburgh, which is going to be the 1st of October, in one of those two options, either the Homestead Marriott or the Hampton Inn. They're right next to each other. The buses from Gaithersburg are going to pull right in front of these hotels and we'll unload right in front of them. But I want to highlight, make sure you use where it says group name, you use Ride Allegheny, because that's how you're going to get the group discount. If you're not getting that $139 a night, please let us know. And please throw Ride Allegheny at them again. But if you're not getting that, don't pay a higher rate. Just let us know and we'll intervene on your behalf. Night number 2, this is something new for us this year, and this is also another important thing that I want to highlight you to. Night 2, you're going to see Ohio Pile and Confluence, Pennsylvania. We've grown the ride to an extent where we've run out of beds in Ohio Pile. So we've gone up the road about 10, 12 miles to Confluence, Pennsylvania. We're going to have another crew staying there. Our planning committee is in the process of determining and getting rider input of who wants to stay where, and we're going to have that finalized for you as we get later in the summer. You don't need to do anything at these hotels at this point for night 2, and this only applies to the 4-day riders. So that lodging is already provided in your registration, and we're going to make a master list of where people are going to stay. We encourage your input. We also encourage your flexibility if we need to shuffle people around just so everybody's accommodated that night. What's also important this evening, we have a very nice group dinner, and we're going to have dinners at both locations. So nobody's going to get left out regardless of where you're staying or where you end up not camping, but staying that night.
Freudian slip. And by the way, if you have any reservation about riding the extra 10 to 12 miles on day 1, let us know, and we can make sure that we work around that. We don't want to tax somebody who doesn't feel comfortable putting in that extra mileage.
We're going to accommodate you there. We'll make sure you're happy on that. The night 3, this is one where you also need to take action. We encourage you to do it ASAP. That's in Cumberland, Maryland. And this is where the 2-dayers, if we have the 2-dayers that are on the call tonight, this is where you come online as well. We need you to go ahead and call one of these hotels, either Ramada or the Fairfield Inn in Cumberland, and make your reservation. Again, use that same code, Ride Allegheny, to get that discounted rate. You may have seen John Gresh's email this morning where he said he's going to try to get possibly some roommates together. If you and a buddy are on this ride together, by all means, go ahead and get your rooms. And when John Gresh checks in with you, just tell him who you're rooming with. If you like to have a roommate, just tell John Gresh when he contacts you, and we'll see what we can accommodate. We know certain riders have special needs when it comes to, sleeping arrangements and such, but we'll try our best to make sure everyone is comfortable, at least at these hotels. And then the final night, this applies to all of us as well. Please make a reservation either at the Ramada or the Holiday Inn. And the buffet dinner is going to be served, like I said, at the Ramada that night. Again, this is all on the website, and you'll be getting more information as time goes on. A couple more slides we have that we just want to highlight for you, and then we'll just open it up to questions and let you go for the night. These are important. We want to give you a day in the life very briefly. The mornings are going to start with a daily briefing and a bag drop. I mentioned the bag drop earlier. And basically how this is going to work, everyone's going to get up at a prescribed time. You're going to have your breakfast. You're going to have your backpack. Then we're going to all gather as a group, and you're going to have our daily briefings that me, Tim, Silvio, and some others will participate in. During that time, we'll also be loading the bags. You'll see here a picture of that bag. Can't really tell the size from there, but that's what it looks like. You must load your bag yourself, and I can't stress enough that getting on the van to move to the next place. But during that briefing, we're basically going to go over the agenda for the day, and we're also, more importantly, going to give you daily cue sheets. It's going to have your directions, your lunch stops, lodging information, rest stops, things such as that. If you have any questions, just let us know, and like I said, we're almost done with the slides, and we can open it up. Real briefly, I'm not going to go in nauseam about the day 4, the 4 days to the ride. I just want to give you a flavor of what they look like and highlight specific points. This is the first day ride from Pittsburgh to Cumberland. These are the 4-day rides. One other thing I want to highlight for you here, and you'll see it in red at the bottom. Our SAC support, we have designated rest stops throughout the day, and these rest stops are going to be staffed by local volunteers throughout the communities that we go through. These are going to be American Legion folks. They're going to have drinks, power bars, snacks, and stuff throughout the day. Also at those predetermined rest stops, we're asking that each person, when they come in, yell their number, if you will. When you pick up your bag, you're going to be assigned a number. And when you go through those checkpoints, we're going to ask that you yell that number out just so we can keep accountability for everyone that's there and keep a track of that. Day 2, this is the Ohio Confluence. It's pretty much a day where we just ride. And you'll see some really good scenery going on at this point of the ride as well. These are also where you need to lie where we go through some of the big tunnels. And you also cross the Continental Divide. You'll see a picture here on day 3. This is the Cumberland to Hagerstown. This is when we have our 2-day riders with us. And we join the C&O Canal. And again, it's just a day-long ride. This is our longest day of the 4 days. And we need to, have the energy to get through that. You'll see a picture of the tunnel to your right there. And that's the kind of terrain you're going to be backing through when we get to that. And then day 4, the day we all look forward to at the end. It's bittersweet because the ride's over, but it's hard to go back to reality after that as well for a lot of us. And then we bike into the picnic, and it's a pretty special moment for all of us, especially those first-year riders who've never done the ride. And we'll have group pictures, and we'll just celebrate with a good picnic after that. I want to turn it over to one of the most important components for us, and that's safety. And Tim Sanders is going to talk to you about that briefly tonight.
Okay, before we move forward, any questions on the materials that Dave just covered? Okay, we got a couple here. Good. Hang on a minute. Let me
Hold on a minute. Go back to the slide.
All right. Do we have the cue sheets ready? If so, can we get them in advance? You know what? We don't have them for this year, but the ride pretty much stays the same. We can make those available likely before the ride for sure.
Last year, I think we put them in every duffel bag.
Yeah, they're in the duffel bags. Now, if you're curious about, we haven't identified exactly where if we're changing any of the rest stops, lunch stops, et cetera. It most likely stay the same. It might all be on the website. You can check it there, but I would encourage you just to check out the Ride Allegheny Passage from Homestead in Pittsburgh with an endpoint of Riley's Lock on the C&O Canal.
It's on the website.
Yeah, so you'll be able to check out exactly the trail we take. Yeah. Lisa's got a question here. Can you go back to slide 11 for Ramada Inn? We'll do that at the end, absolutely. Slide 11. Sounds good. Thought about creating a map my ride route to share. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, Don, what we'll do is we'll get with you offline, and we'll see if we can put that together. We absolutely can do that. All right, so again, questions, write them down, ask them now, but we'll keep moving forward. Try and get through this and open up the lines so we can start chatting. So safety, it's important. This is just like they say with any other activity that might be strenuous or dangerous. This is strenuous and dangerous. So understand what it is that you're getting into. People can get injured. People can be fatally injured. This is a dangerous ride, and you're going to tax your body. If you aren't preparing, if you aren't willing to train, you might reconsider. It's important to take this seriously, but also know that this is going to be one of the most incredible experiences. You'll have a blast. You'll beat yourself up, and it truly does live up to what we call it the ride of your life. We'll make sure that it is. But let's talk a little bit about it. So importantly, use common sense when you're riding. Know where you are. So these cue sheets, when we make them available, read them, study them, understand where you are. There's mile markers and all of that. So if anything ever did happen, you have the ability to tell people if you're calling an emergency where you are, because we're in pretty isolated areas. It's hard to get lost because we're pretty much just going straight. There's not a lot of turns. But you want to be sure you know where you are, and also importantly, don't ride alone. Even if you're very experienced, there's going to be 100-plus riders on this ride, and of all shapes, sizes, ages, and you name it, and riding ability. Ride with somebody. So it's much more fun to share the experience, and you can jump from group to group to group. But don't ride alone in case anything did happen. And know your limitations. Train now. Understand what you can and can't do. You're going to find groups that are blasting through going 20 miles an hour. You're going to find groups that are going 10 miles an hour. If you want to try and stick with the guys that are going fast the entire time, make sure that you're capable of doing that. Don't tax yourself out, because on a day that's 95 miles long, if you burn yourself out in the first 15 miles, it's going to be a very difficult second half of the day. And listen to your body. Know what, if you're feeling something that you think is important to recognize, talk to us. I'm going to talk about the trail bosses in a moment. Talk to the SAG, but truly listen to your body. There's important cues that you might find. Most importantly, if anything happens, dial 911. You'll see at the bottom, your safety is your responsibility. It truly is. We don't offer medical support and medical care. We're not emergency medical technicians. Not everybody's CPR certified. We aren't providing you or making the claim that we're providing you any medical support on this ride. So if you have medical conditions, bring that to our attention. You can do it offline. And be sure that you have a medical sign-off from your physician that it's appropriate for you to engage in this activity. It is strenuous. And be sure that you realize accidents may very well happen. People fall off their bikes, people bump into each other, squirrels run across the trail and get stuck in your spokes. Just understand things can happen. Snakes, bears, drunken clerks, things happen. So just be prepared. Right? Just make sure you take responsibility for yourself and be smart. Okay, so I mentioned the trail bosses. We do have a trail boss system that we've enacted in recent years, and it's worked out pretty well. The way that it works is we've got anywhere from 4+ guides or trail bosses that we designate for a period of time, usually half a day, and then it rotates throughout the day, that are acting as basically oversight and support for you as riders. And so if you look at the graph, you've got trail boss team B, trail boss team A, and a bunch of blue and yellow dots. The yellow are the trail bosses, and we try and strategically place them to where they become basically a brick wall, a barrier behind the last man, and a rover somewhere in the middle that's going back and forth, back and forth. And the reason we do that is that we've got between start and next rest stop, typically anywhere from 15 to 30 miles that we're traveling, and the riders can get spread pretty far across that distance before we regroup at the next rest stop or lunch stop. So what we want to try and enact is that we've got some level of support on these isolated trails that is no more than approximately 5 to 10 minutes away from any accident that might occur. Now, we're not making any claims that we're going to be able to do that, but really the important thing is that you're going to see the guys. They're designated in their jerseys, their vests. They've got satellite phones, all the emergency contact information, maps if we need them, general first aid kits for road rash type issues, Band-Aids, gauze, that sort of thing, nothing major. But importantly, they're there for your support. They are not bike mechanics. They don't specialize in changing flat tires and that sort of thing. But it's worked out pretty well in the past. We're going to continue to do it. Just be aware they'll be running back and forth. If you need help at any time and you see a trail boss fly by you, stop them, let them know, and we can make it happen for you. Now let's move into probably the most important aspect of this ride is why we ride. And we're riding for the soldiers, we're riding for the troops, we're riding for the individuals that have sacrificed in one way or another for our freedoms, our safety, and all of that. And they've been injured in one way or another in doing so. And so like Dave mentioned, they started this back in 2005 and have been raising funds ever since. You guys are actually very fortunate to be part of an interesting year. We are about to cross the $1 million mark for cumulative fund raised for Operation Second Chance, which is the beneficiary of our fundraising. You'll see the picture there. That's Larry Stovacek, big money. Cindy McGrew in the middle there, and Mark Schell on the right, the Rainmaker. And those guys are our big fundraisers, our biggest fundraisers typically each year. And Cindy is the founder of Operation Second Chance. You'll see the check says $275K. In fact, this is last year, we raised $301,000 last year, and we intend to do the same this year, if not break it. So in order to do the fundraising, we try and we set up fundraising minimums. But I don't want you to focus on that so much, because everyone can do more than their minimum. You'll see in the red there, if all you ever did was your minimum, we wouldn't come close to what our goal is. We've got approximately 100 riders, a goal of approximately $300K. Do the math. set a goal that's going to stretch you, that's going to make you actually work for it. And I promise you, when this is all said and done, you will feel so good because of it. When we're there at that Smoky Glen celebration at the end, you've just beaten yourself up for 4 days, and you're tired, you're sore, your knee, back, rear end, they all hurt, and you see the soldiers that we're benefiting, that we're fundraising for, and how gracious they are for what we've done for them. And there's not many more moving things that you're going to experience in your life. So I can promise you this is something to really take seriously. So the fundraising, there's some tips on how to do it. When I first started, I was worried about that $500 first year minimum. I didn't think I was going to be able to get it. You'll be surprised. It happens. It blows right by you before you even start trying. The most important thing is to get started now. You'll see that at the bottom. But to get started, some quick tips that certain individuals that do pretty well with fundraising have provided along. Make your list. Identify individuals in your life, family, friends, colleagues that you work with, also your employer, who you can send an email to, you can send a personal letter to, you can Facebook post or Twitter or whatever you have to do, and reach out to them. Let them know what you're doing, and let them know who you're raising funds for, what it is that they do, and why it's important. Also, be sure that you're recognizing that you're not fundraising for yourself. You're not asking them to support you. You're asking them to support this cause that we all truly believe in. It's much easier to ask people for money when it's not for you. It's for people that truly deserve it and need it. We have personal fundraising sites. When you signed up, you would have gotten a notice with an email password and a link, or a username, password, and a link to get to your personal fundraising page. You can send emails directly through that page. When you send your emails out to your donors, link, they'll be able to go directly to you. You'll get the credit for the donations. Toy around with it. If you have any questions as you're trying to get through your personal website, go and email me, Tim Sanders, Timbo Sanders, as you'll see the email address every once in a while, and I'll be able to help you out with that. We also have the ability to give non-riders the personal website so that they can fundraise for us. We call these virtual riders. So if you have children, parents, siblings, extended network, branch out your network and have them fundraise with you. It becomes a lot of fun. With employment and with corporate donations, a lot of these corporations offer matching donations that you don't realize. So when somebody makes a donation for you, if they work for typically larger corporations, ask them if their company has a matching donation. And all of a sudden, their $50 or $100 donations for you, it doubles in size. You'll be surprised how many actually do that, and we can help facilitate the match. And if you have any large donors that you're working on or you think you might have in your life, somebody who might be able to give 500, 1,000, $5,000, you name it, let us know if you need help. We're happy to jump in and make a call with you or meet in person. It took me a little while to understand exactly what it was that we were fundraising for. You'll meet Cindy on the ride. She comes and rides with us. And you hear a lot about different wounded soldier, wounded warrior type nonprofits. Operation Second Chance is entirely different. It's about as hands-on as a nonprofit can get. And they're every year their financials are audited, and they prove the fact that nearly everything that is donated is going directly to support these troops on a very high-touch basis. This is an email that we received from Cindy not too long ago. It just basically, it was a quick update she wanted to send to us on the planning committee. I'll read it real quickly to you guys so you can get a sense of exactly what it is that $100 goes to when we donate. And let me tell you about a few families you helped this week. We paid 2 mortgages for 2 families that were facing eviction. 1 utility payment that a family was behind in, made flights for a soldier and his wife to go home before his next scheduled surgery, reimbursed a rental car bill for a family that needed to get to a funeral, made a flight for a soldier to get home to see his wife, sent gift grocery cards so a family could buy essentials for themselves. They only wanted it for their dog. Also assisted in getting supplies for an amputee clinic and a hospital. The VA is backed up. They're 600 cases behind. They need help. I had a contractor give me an estimate on some repairs at a soldier's house this week. They have water damage from a leaky pipe. The list goes on and on. I'll be back visiting on Monday, delivering Girl Scout cookies at Walter Reed, and also preparing to send care packages to 3 guys in the unit serving in Afghanistan. Thank you for all that you do. I can never begin to express how grateful I am for the support and for all that each of you mean. Best regards, Cindy. And we finish on this slide to let you know you're going to meet this individual. You're going to meet a lot of the troops that these funds go to, and you'll forever be better for it and be changed for it. I can promise you that. With that, thank you very much for participating tonight and joining us. We can't tell you how excited we are to meet you guys here in October and ride with you. And we'll turn it over to any questions. Please, I'm going to unmute. If you've got some sort of feedback, just mute yourself. But we want to see if there's any questions. Please go ahead and fire away.
There's got to be somebody out there.
I have a question. This is Lisa Koza again.
Sure. Go ahead, Lisa.
There was so many emails going around, and I got lost in them all, and sort of. So a couple of things. One was the personal page. I can't figure out how to get back there. So Tim, I'll send you a note. And then there was an email a while ago about shirts that were special for the ride, the cheetah shirt. And I also want to buy one of those, but you know it's buried in a zillion emails, so I don't know who to reach out to for that.
You know, Lisa, if you go to rideallegheny.org, everything
it's all there?
is all there. We've got an apparel shop that is on the front page. You click the link. I think it says Buy Ride Allegheny Apparel. And you can we've got T-shirts. We have long sleeve T-shirts. You can buy duffel bags there. You don't need it for your first year. We provide it. More importantly, we have jerseys. What you're referring to is we have the RA14 official jersey. And if you guys are interested, I would encourage you to buy them because probably 90% of the ride actually wears them. And it's really neat when we're starting off and when we're finishing, everybody wearing that uniform of sorts. And actually the deadline to order that, I believe, is I would go on today. I think it's the 4th, which is Monday.
I get it by the weekend.
All right.
Yeah, get it by the weekend. You can go on, order your jersey. And the reason there's a deadline is that these are custom made and they're small batch orders, so you want to be sure you get it in time for the ride. If you don't order by Monday, we can't guarantee you'll have it on the ride.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Who else is out there?
This is Mike Rossback. I heard something on the jerseys, run small, run big. Can you give us any idea what size to order?
Yeah, so one thing they do, they're made by Primal. They make a lot of bicycle gear. You can go to their website and they do have a sizing guide on there. I think all of their jerseys are about the same, or they run the same size. Jerseys tend to run a little small, for sure. And because of their elasticity, you can fit into something smaller or larger without too much issue. I don't know what size you tend to be, but if you want to email us that offline, rather than put you on the spot here in front of a live audience, we can help you with that.
Are they zip?
They are 3/4 zip.
Okay.
3/4 zip. I can tell you, I typically wear between a large and a medium, and a large and a medium both work very well.
Okay. Thank you.
What else do we have out there?
Real quickly, while we're waiting for questions, I can't stress the importance of this personal webpage. Get familiar with it. If you aren't familiar with it right now, let me know. Let's spend some time doing it. We're going to have a fundraising webinar in the next several weeks. You'll get an email for that specific. It goes into very specific detail on tips and tricks on how to fundraise, emails, letters, templates, all that to use. But in the meantime, I encourage you all to hop onto your webpage and make sure you check everything out about it. You can customize it, load videos, pictures, everything. It's really neat.
Greta, did you have a question? I saw you were trying to speak.
Not really. My mic was actually just rubbing on my table. But what time do we start every morning?
It's a great question, Greta. For those of you who may not be able to hear, she asked, what time do we start every morning? It depends, but I would say if we're ready by 7-ish, 7:30, we'll usually have the morning briefing around there. Some morning it's a little later, but it's not an absurd hour for those of us, who get up and go to work every morning.
Good question. One thing I want to bring up, you can ride 50 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, but understand what your capability is. So if you're going to do this ride at an 8, 9, 10 mile an hour pace, and we're doing 90 to 100 miles in a given day, do the math and understand that's going to be about 10 hours in the saddle with breaks or even longer. So if you're going to do a slower pace like that, be sure that you're the first one up, the first one out, and the first one on the trail. And we'll remind you guys out there, but it's important to start to get a sense of what your capabilities are, so you know approximately what time is most appropriate. We'll have an early exit and a kind of a team A, team B at least.
Yeah, well, we have ad hoc little groups that ride together that will leave earlier than prescribed after the briefings. What other questions do we have? Well, we have you, Captain. All right, you guys know how to get a hold of us. Please reach out to us. No question, we're here for you. We want to welcome you to the family, and we sincerely mean that. You're gonna meet, especially the new boy, you're gonna meet some lifelong friends on the trip in October. And please reach out to us. No questions too small or concern. We're here to, like we keep saying, make this the best ride of your life, and just let us know what we need to do to get you there. Oh, we have another question. It just came in. An individual said, "I don't think I've registered officially yet. How much is the registration?"
So 2-day registration is $150. 4-day registration is $225. You can hop online. It's real quick to go ahead and get registered, and as soon as you register, you'll get your personal webpage.
And the person who sent that, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, that's Will. Will, pull the trigger, buddy. Let's do it.
It's a great value. So,
yeah, and again, to go over what you're getting for that $225, you're getting lodging, food, support. We actually lose on this thing. It's all for the troops.
All right, folks. Anything else?
I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I have one more question. Do you run into other groups, or are we pretty much by ourselves through all of this?
Yeah, well, that's actually kind of some of the fun. We do run into other groups that are out there, whether it be individuals, small cells of people, or larger groups doing rides or walks along the trails. A lot of them are going the other way. They're going towards Cumberland or going towards Pittsburgh. But you will meet other folks that'll be at the same towns with us at night. So it's kind of part of the adventure.
Okay.
We do owe a question. I apologize. We were supposed to talk about the Ramada Inn on slide 11. And so maybe able to get us back there. I think, Lisa, you had a question about the Ramada on slide 11, if you're still with us.
This info is online.
Lisa Koza, are you? Oh, here we go. Mark's.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Yeah. When you guys registered, there was an email that was sent to you with some links to some material, fundraising basics, templates, etc. Mark Shell, who our rainmaker, he leads our fundraising committee. They'll be hosting a webinar for you guys in a few weeks if you choose to attend that. If you don't, his material is available in that initial email that you were sent. If you don't have that, then retain it, or if you need it again, let us know. We're happy to send it to you.
Lisa, I got your message. We can't hear you. Just type your message in there on the website.
It's whatever's on the site is exactly what it is. There's only one option for. There's a short sleeve shirt, there's a long sleeve T-shirt, and then a jersey.
Okay, great.
Again, I recommend you guys go ahead and get your jerseys real soon. You're going to regret it if you don't get them. They're great. Anything else? Hey guys, can't wait to meet you all. Can't wait to see you and ride with you.
Now, I don't know to my expertise.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great night. Thanks for joining.